Hey y'all, it's Kim from Kim Dixon Creative, and I'm here today with a project using the January 2023 stamp of the month. And I'm also going to be using the die set this time. This little stamp set is called Tons of Cute, and it is tons of cute. So right now what I'm doing is I'm just going to stamp out my little image on some Express It cardstock because I'm going to be using my Copic markers to color him up. Not that there's a whole lot of coloring to go. I mean, there's just not a lot of coloring. So any of you that are kind of afraid of coloring, this is a great stamp set. Or if you don't like to color, it's a great stamp set. There's not a lot that you have to do. I'm using some ink on 3 blackout ink. It's a hybrid ink, and so you can use it with Copic markers. And just happened to be what was on my desk. Sometimes I use the Memento Tuxedo Black. I cut out the coloring because, like I say, there wasn't a whole lot to it. So I am using the die to cut out my little elephant there. And I've got him cut out and using my little pick tool there to get that tape started. Because once that tape, even though it's washi tape and it's not supposed to be that sticky, once it goes through your die cutting machine, it gets stuck down pretty good. So I'm going to use this little Swiss dot embossing folder. I've had that embossing folder forever. And so I'm going to just add a little texture to the the card panel there that's going to go on the on the front of my card. And I'm also going to add a little ink on it to give it a little more dimension, to let those dots kind of show up. There's just something about little dots, polka dots, that just make me think of babies. And so this little card is more geared toward a boy baby. And I used Simon Hurley Breakup Blue to do that. It's, a little darker than the cardstock that I'm using. And now I'm going to cut out a circle right in the middle of that card panel. I'm going to make a shaker card. And so, again, being very careful with that tape. And when I read it through the die cutting machine to cut out that circle, it did flatten out my dots some, but because I had inked them, they're still showing. So I cut 2 little pieces of acetate. This is Duralar. I typically save packaging and stuff, but I've been trying to be careful and not buy so much, and so I ran out of packaging. So I have this little pad of Duralar that I got on Amazon, and that's what I'm going to use. It's a little thicker than what you usually find, and I like using it. It would be good to make the clear cards like Alicia from Call Me Crafty Owl makes all the time. But you saw me take a little powder tool and go over the acetate. I did that for a couple reasons. I wanted to clean it because it looked like it had some, just fuzzies and stuff on it. And then I also want to try my best to get any static out of it that I can. I still end up with static. So now I'm going to take my foam tape and go around the circle. And I find it easier when I'm making a shaker card to bend the foam tape. It's easier if you take all of the release paper off. It makes it a little more difficult as far as sticking to your fingers. You see me, having to try to pull my fingers up, but it makes it easier to bend around that circle, and you can get a little bit better. You can get it a little tighter around the circle than what you can if you don't take that paper off. And so I'm going to put 2 layers up, and to make it, to where the shaker bits will shake very well. And just going to keep going around. Hey, a little bit about the stamp set. You need to head on over to the shop and pick your stamp or die set up. The best way to make sure that you're going to get this stamp and die set every month is just to go ahead and subscribe. And to do that, when you're over there, go ahead and click on the frequency drop down and choose monthly. But sometimes they're available just without having to subscribe. And so, go over and check it out. Check out all the other great things that are in the shop. Jamie keeps some really great things in the shop. Now here's my trick on doing a shaker card. It's nothing new. I sandwich my shaker bits in between the two pieces of acetate. I am not even going to try to get the cards onto the card front without that. I mean, it's just much easier. It's a little piece of acetate, makes it so much easier. So you saw I took a pencil and I laid my little elephant down to make sure I had it where I wanted it, and just kind of drew a little pencil mark around it. You can't see it after I glue it down. And to glue onto the front of my card so it's peeking out of the shaker part. And now I'm going to add my foam tape to the rest of the back of the card, again doing 2 layers. This is the same type of foam tape, it's just wider than what I used around the circle. And that way my front will be even and hold up over the card base itself. And I'm just cutting a couple of little triangles to go up in the top corners to kind of support that area. And that's really all the foam tape I use. I don't worry about trying to get it in the other places. Typically for me, if it's a baby card, that means that I'm going to a baby shower or I'm hand delivering a gift, so I don't worry about it going through the mail. If it were going through the mail, I might put a little bit more there in the bottom corners, but I still think it's very well supported. I'm going to add a little bit of glue to that so that I can, kind of slide it around and get it in place. That the little sequins that I used in my shaker were from my stash, and I believe they came from an older, not too shabby box of the month. And when I say older, I'm like talking about a year, maybe 2 ago. So they were from Cat Scrappiness, and they were called the Tinkerbell Mix. So I thought that was really cute. They have a lot of yellow and pink and blue hues in there, and it looked good with the baby card. Okay, so I am stamping up my sentiment on this piece of cardstock, and I'm using the same ink. I'm using the Simon Hurley's Breakup Blue, and just cut that on, cut the little strip out, and I'm going to glue it right there at the bottom of that circle where it's cut out. And so I think at that point, I think that's my card, but then it's kind of plain. So I want to bring some of the inside out. So I'm going to put some of the same sequins on the outside of the card. And I also like to take some of the outside in. So I'm going to stamp out this little elephant that's asleep on the moon on the inside of the card in that same Breakup Blue ink. And then I'm going to take just some of the ink on 3 blackout ink and stamp my little logo on the back of my card. Thanks again for stopping by. I hope you really enjoyed this card, and I hope it inspires you to get your supplies out and create something. Head on over to the shop and pick up this stamp set and the die set. They're really, really cute. The die set cuts out, very intricately, those little stars. It's just fabulous. So head on over, check it out, get one for yourself. Subscribe to the Stamp and Die Set of the Month. It's a really great value. Thanks again. We'll see you later. Bye.